Welcome back to It Was Never a Face Cards, and in today's video we have to talk again about Evolving Skies and specifically the moonbreon. We are seeing insane new all-time highs on the moonbreon. Things are going absolutely crazy. Let's just jump straight into it, and we're going to start off on TCG Player with the Umbreon VMAX, obviously the moonbreon right here, up 130% on the year, but check out what we've been seeing in the past few months. This card was declining for a while. You can see previously it peaked around 1800 back here, and it declined all the way down to 1300. And now we're seeing a big jump up just seemingly overnight from 1400 up to 21 and 2200 on the Umbreon there. Currently, the lowest listeds are 2000 and up. Lowest listed right here, 2000. And then 2140 and up. So this is a big, huge uptick in price. We're at an all-time high. Like I said, the previous all-time highs were at around 1700. So that's just what we're seeing for raw. Most recent sales, we do have a PSA 10 sale. We'll talk about that more in a minute. You can see 3500. And we did see some sales a lot higher than what we have currently listed, 2900, 2800, and 2600 on TCG Player. So yeah, the lowest listed right now are around 2000 and 2100. We'll see how long those hold. Not that many sales until we potentially get into around the $2,500 mark, which would be really interesting as well. There are 33 copies currently listed on TCG Player, but PSA 10 prices are going insane as well. These are the most recent sales as of this recording. These happened yesterday. You can see September 13th, $3,850. And then $3,500, $3,800, $3,750, and then one as high as $4,000. Now, there was a brief point in time right before this jump happened where the raw price was going up quite a bit, and the PSA 10 hadn't started to move up yet, and it was just like a few $100s more you could get a PSA 10. And now obviously PSA 10 prices have adjusted accordingly. So massive movement there. The pop report on this, let's just do a little bit of an update just for you guys in case you haven't checked in a minute on the Umbreon. There are over 18,200 copies of this card in a PSA 10. 25,000 have been graded. And that may seem like a lot. It is a lot. But when you start to look at the grand scheme of how many people are collecting these days, that is absolutely nothing. So it'll be really interesting to see where the ceiling is on this card. Obviously, this is the most iconic card of modern Pokemon currently. And it's just something to keep an eye on. How high will it go? Obviously we're seeing all-time highs right now. Can this continue to go up? Where will it end? How many of these 18,000 are already locked away in people's personal collections that they're not willing to part with, right? Because there are millions of people who collect Pokemon cards, English cards to be specific. So not everyone collects graded cards, obviously, but it's kind of like a gateway. Eventually, I feel like you kind of get to the graded cards if you've been in it long enough. So something to keep an eye on is obviously maybe this pop's not high enough either. So things are starting to dwindle as far as supply and demand on the Umbreon there. So that's currently what we're seeing for population. Then we do need to talk about the booster boxes as well. These obviously have been moving up pretty big, 37% in the past 3 months, going from 1,800 currently to around 2,500. We're kind of seeing it level off a little bit, at least for the time being. You can see right here, it's still slowly moving up, like every day chugging up just like a little bit and a little bit. But right now the listed median price is $3,400 for an Evolving Skies booster box. Now, this makes me wonder if after seeing the Moonbreon start to move up, will we see the Evolving Skies boxes move up? This is kind of something we've seen in the past. Once that Moonbreon starts to move, then the booster boxes move. And then, sequentially off of that, we usually see your other Sword and Shield sets start to move, like your Fusion Strike, like your Lost Origin. So keep an eye out for that as well, because we could see some potential big movement there. Lowest listeds right now on TCG Player are higher than the current market price. They're at pretty much around 2,700 and up. So, and just a handful of sales really. until we get closer to that $3,000 mark. I think the $3,000 mark is going to be a very, very interesting price point as well. It could just blow past it. Like I said, the median price is 3,400 with how quickly things have been going. In the past month, though, only 21 sales. Currently on this box. It gets expensive. The sales are going to start to slow down. So it might take a little bit to get to that point, maybe a week or two, to see where things start moving again. But I think like I said, the moonbreon, the attention that the moonbreon is going to get with these new all-time highs is going to get people starting to think about the booster box again. So the booster box looking like a good pickup. Obviously, long term, I'm still extremely bullish on this box, even at this price. There will be a point in time where we will say, wow, 2,500 was cheap for an Evolving Skies box. Unfortunately, that's just a fact, right? I mean, it's kind of scary to think about, but that's just the reality of where the hobby is going currently. Things are so crazy and so expensive. But this is still even, if you're on a long-term time frame, 2,500 is a steal. We've seen what older boxes can do, and Evolving Skies obviously is such a good set that it's going to age really, really well. So just a matter of time until that moves up. And then we are seeing a little bounce on the Rayquaza here. This is the alternate art right here, number 218. We're starting to see it bounce up a little bit, up 3% in the past month. But it was falling previously. You can see if we zoom out, it was as high as $800. It fell down all the way to around $650. And now we're seeing a little bit of a bounce back up on this card, up to $670. And lowest listeds right now are around $700 and up. Two sales at 700, and then we get up into the 730, 740 range. So it looks like Rayquaza may be seeing a bit of a bounce as well. And like I said, once the moonbreon just brings enough attention, everything comes back to Evolving Skies. People get distracted. We've been looking at, there's been a lot of Scarlet and Violet era stuff that's been happening. The Destined Rivals has been moving up. Paldea has been moving up. And then now you go, oh crap, let's go back to Sword and Shield and Evolving Skies. And I think a lot of people are doing that right now, in addition to a lot of money entering the hobby right now as far as these expensive products. For the booster boxes and the PSA 10s, people are spending a lot of money currently. So Rayquaza looks like it's going to be up a little bit up. If it gets back to this $800 price point, that's when I start to get real intrigued and we could see it run even more. Not a lot of copies currently available, so that always plays a factor, supply and demand. So something to keep an eye on. I'll keep you guys updated, obviously, on all this stuff. So make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Here's the last PSA 10 sales on the Rayquaza, 1750, 1745, and 1700. There was one here, this was yesterday as well, as high as 1800. So that's what you can expect from a PSA 10 Rayquaza. Currently, the population, just to compare to the Moonbreon, 12,000, so much less, right? But a very high gem rate on the Rayquaza as well, and just like the Moonbreon as well. 17,000 currently graded with 12,000 in a 10. And obviously this is a good enough card where, this Rayquaza could have carried its own set, right? And that's something that we're obviously going to see in the Mega block. We're going to be seeing that. So just keep in mind that, this is a really good card. It's not gotten the attention of the Moonbreon, but, it could have been a great chase card of its own set entirely. It didn't need the Moonbreon for Evolving Skies to be a good set. But anyways, around 1800 is currently what we're seeing. High pop, but like I said, how many of these 12,000 are locked away in people's personal collections, not ever going to be resold. So that's really not that many in the grand scheme of things. And then if we're going to talk about Umbreon, we do need to talk about the V, the lesser card. A lot of people like this artwork more, a little debatable. That art is always a preference, but 44% up in the past 3 months. This card was dipping a little bit from 240 right here down to 220, but then it saw a massive shoot up over 300. We're seeing $358 currently. If we zoom out, that is an all-time high. So we are seeing another all-time high on the Umbreon V. Back here, the previous high it wasn't able to break that $300 mark a year ago, 140, but then it ran up to March, like I said, around 300. Slowly came back down, and now we're seeing some pretty explosive growth. Lowest listeds right now are a little bit under the current market price in the 330s. $335 range. So keep an eye out on this one as well. Once again, a great looking card, but the more expensive Evolving Skies gets, just in general, the booster boxes, the ETBs, we'll talk about some of those other products here in a second. it's just gonna, I feel like it's just gonna make, everyone's gonna want, you want the Umbreon VMAX, you also want the V. You want the Rayquaza, you VMAX, you also want the V, right? There's just so many great cards from the set that everyone is gonna want because they're so iconic. And now they're seeing such big price movement as well, that people are going to want to get them before they're like at unobtainable levels, I think. So there's going to be a lot of FOMOing happening, stuff like that. So that's currently what we're seeing from the Umbreon V. Let's jump over to the Dragonite V, which has seen, we've touched on this recently. We touched on the Umbreon and the Dragonite more recently, but a little bit of an update. It's continuing to move up. It's currently just under $400, 52% up in the past 3 months. Great looking card. I love this card. Sleepy Dragonite with all of the flying Pokemon in the background. Looks like the 3 month low was around 230. Now we're seeing it up to around 395. We zoom out on the 1 year. You'll see a year ago, $136 card. It peaked around that 260, 270 in April. Came back down, and then obviously explosive growth. When the growth happens, it happens quick and it happens big with Evolving Skies. So massive growth, all-time high. Currently lowest listeds, you have one at 385, which is below current market, and then you have up into the 470s. You got 470 up to 500. So I don't think the Dragonite, Sleepy Dragonite V is done moving. I think it's going to continue to move up in value. Just give it a little bit more time. Let's see how many have sold in the past month. 41 copies sold in the past month. Only 22 currently listed on TCG Player. So I would expect the Dragonite to continue to move up in price into the near future. Let's talk about some other more affordable products from Evolving Skies. You can look at any product, right? It's going to be up, obviously massive, but sleeved boosters are definitely one of my favorites. These are the last thing where I was saying that this is, it still is to a certain extent. Obviously $60 for a pack is very expensive, but if you want to get into Evolving Skies and have some sort of sealed product, this is your cheapest entry point currently. And the more expensive a set gets, the better that these sleeved packs will sell, because people can't afford the boosters, then they can't afford the ETBs, right? And it goes down the line. And I think these are going to start pricing people out really big once they get closer to that $100 mark, because that's kind of starts to get insane. $100 for a pack. So we're still in relatively like sane prices, although, like I said, $62 for a sleeve pack is very expensive, but these are up 34% in the past 3 months, from $38 up to around $62 most recent sale. So lowest listeds right now are 55 and 58 with shipping. So these are going to continue to move up as well. But definitely the more affordable entry point for the set. A year ago, these were a $20 pack. So yeah, not surprising to see these ones move up. But still, if you want to get some Evolving Skies, that's your cheapest way that I would recommend. You can get loose packs as well, but I think that the sleeve boosters, they hold a little bit better. I don't like the loose packs personally. I would lean towards these. ETBs are moving up. So this is the regular Elite Trainer box right here. You can see continuing to climb as well, up 25%, currently around 370. Most recent sale actually around 400. You'll see listed median at 500, 495. So these have been going up pretty big. You zoom out right here, 142%. Very steady, just a very steady uptick on that chart. Not really too many downturns. It's just been moving up real steady. $150 a year ago on the regular Elite Trainer boxes. And let's see what currently lowest listeds are at. $388 as of this recording. Above the current market, but a little bit less than the most recent sale. So that's the regular ETB. One of them, there's obviously two versions of the regular Elite Trainer box and two versions of this one, which is the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box. Two versions here. This box, check out this most recent sale price, $960. There's only 7 of these currently listed on TCG Player right now for this version, right? And lowest listed right here is $900, and then you have $1,000, then $1,200. So these are definitely going to be over that $1,000 mark. Just give it a little bit more time. 211% gain on the year. A year ago, $226. So Evolving Skies, this is maybe one of those products where you kind of have heard people talk about this before, so it's an argument to be made. I'm not so certain with this set. I feel like this set is kind of maybe an exception, but Some at a certain price point, sometimes these ETBs stop making as much sense compared to like how expensive they are for how many packs you get. I feel like the booster boxes kind of just like take over, but maybe Evolving Skies might be the exception to that rule. So it'd be another thing just to keep an eye on. Obviously, Evolving Skies is very, very special. But that's mostly what I wanted to touch on as far as Evolving Skies. Now, when we get into some other sets, sets that can move and have moved in the past after Evolving Skies has moved, is your Lost Origin and your Fusion Strike. Those are the two main ones that will move. And right now, we are seeing Lost Origin booster boxes over 800. They're at 820 current market. Listed median price is at 950, so this box hasn't quite gotten to 1,000 yet, but it's starting to get close. 57% gain in the past 3 months is pretty wild, and 315% on the year. Definitely one of the better performing booster boxes overall. Sub 200 a year ago, and now we're seeing, like I said, 820 sales. Lowest listeds are a little bit below that right now, kind of right around 800. So maybe a few more sales before this goes up a little bit. Let's see. 40 sold in the past month with 93 currently available. So more people have probably started to list their boxes after some of this movement. So it might take another month or two for maybe these to get to like that $950, $1,000 mark. It could happen faster. Like I said, the Evolving Skies and some of the other movement happens quick. It only takes, whether it's one person, two people to come in and scoop up a bunch of boxes, and this price should shoot up off of that. So just keep in mind that this supply could dwindle very fast. So that's what we have for Lost Origin booster boxes. The Giratina has been bouncing back. It's up 13% in the past 3 months from a low of just under 500 to now we're seeing it get closer to that $600 mark. Most recent sale is 633. And let's see, all 633 sales the last 3 that have sold, and lowest listeds are actually, there's 2 below that at 601, and then we're up into that 640, 650 range. If we zoom out, the previous all-time high on this card for a raw near mint copy, $708. The previous 1 year low was around 326. Went up to, like I said, that 700 range and dropped all the way back down. So if it can get back to this price point, we could see it possibly move across that. So something to keep an eye on there is that that psychological previous all-time high of 700. So we'll see. Another one just to keep an eye on. Obviously, the card's still doing well, still very expensive, and it's performing well and starting to bounce back. So we'll have to see. It seems like it may be, obviously the Umbreon was falling, and then it shot up big. And so could see a similar thing here. Could be the start of a takeoff as far as price movement goes. So once again, these sets could just be lagging behind. They tend to, Evolving Skies moves and then everything else follows. So something else to keep an eye on there. And then I wanted to touch on, again, the Pikachu V, the Trainer Gallery number 16 from Lost Origin. This is still not too crazy expensive of a card, only around $75. But we've seen some massive movement recently, 75% in the past 3 months, going from $40 up to around $75 currently. Lowest listeds are actually higher than that, and you will see 77, 76, and then it shoots up into the 90s and then the $100 mark. So we could potentially see this Pikachu V breaking the $100 mark. I do like this card a lot. Like I've mentioned before, I prefer this card, the V, over the VMAX personally for art style. Is a card I like a lot. And if you zoom out right here, 1 year ago, a $20 card. There's been a lot of these trainer galleries that have been kind of undervalued for a while. And obviously now we're seeing some big movement on them. In January, this card ran up to around $55. It slowly came down all the way to around $40 more recently back in July. And now it's seeing another big uptick there. So the trainer gallery, a Pikachu from Lost Origin, is looking pretty good. Then we're going to talk about some Fusion Strike here real quick. We're not going to go too in-depth on Fusion Strike, but it's just another one of those sets that can move off of the back of Evolving Skies. 30% growth in the past 3 months. It's still continuing to climb. You can see, just look how steady these sales have been. Most recent sale, $9.89, and market price at $9.89. Now we have seen sales right here. We've seen them eclipse 1,000, 1,055, 1,049, 1,055. So we've definitely seen this box sell for over 1,000, and currently these are all the lowest listeds. right now, over $1,000. You see the listed medium price of around 1,200. Supply started to go up on these boxes, like I said, kind of similar to Lost Origin. We saw some big price movement. You saw some people go, okay, maybe I should sell, and people start to list some of those boxes. So the supply going up a little bit. We may have to eat some of that supply up before we can see a little bit of movement. And like I said, sales slowing down. 36 in the past month. That's just because these are so expensive. Not everyone is buying these. So it may take a little bit more time there for some Fusion Strike to move as far as booster boxes go. But yeah, the chart is completely bugged on the 1 year, but it looks like the 1 year low was around $210 there on the Fusion Strike. And then the Gengar VMAX, the alternate art number 271, we are seeing some movement on this as well. Similar to the Giratina, up 21% in the past 3 months. And if we zoom out, you can see that it was falling. Very same chart, right? A year ago, 311. It shot up all the way to around 744, and then it was falling all the way till July, and it settled around 570, and now it's up to around 726. Most recent sales are higher. The most recent sale, actually, just the one singular, higher at 839. So lowest listeds, there's definitely quite a few available in the 700s, and one as low as 698 there. So big movement potentially happening if it can eclipse this previous all-time high. That's something to keep an eye at. We're like technically almost right there, 726 to 740. So it looks like that's probably about to happen. Low supply again, once 26 copies currently available. Just another thing to keep an eye on. 38 have sold in the past month. So we could see the Gengar. I mean, with what we just saw from this, if you want to do a comparison game, and you're saying that this Umbreon, the Moonbreon, is a $2,100 raw card, I don't see there being any reason why this can't be 1,000, or maybe a little over, or maybe right at 1,000 in the near future. So we could definitely be seeing Gengar VMAX hit 1,000, and we could see similar numbers. Seems like the Giratina has kind of always followed, like just been a little bit behind the Gengar. So maybe if the Gengar hits 1,000 or 1,200, maybe the Giratina hits 900, 1,000 raw. So that's definitely a possibility in the future. Just something to keep an eye on. I'm not saying necessarily that's a guarantee by any means. Nobody really knows exactly what could happen, but it seems like a very likely thing when you start to compare that Evolving Skies, the Moonbreon, and just the set to the other Sword and Shield stuff. It's just like, by comparison, these other sets have to move up. So yeah, we're possibly at the start of we just saw, like, I feel like we just saw a Sword and Shield price movement. Like, we just saw like a decent one. And now we're just like being like, okay, well, now we could be seeing another one because the Moonbreon's going crazy. And that's just how fast things are happening right now in the market. You forget about, you start looking at other stuff, and then by the time you come back, it's like, wow, I didn't realize that stuff had moved that much. So that's why you have to stay up to date with just daily updates, because stuff moves so quickly. So that's all I have for you guys in this one. I'll stop rambling. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys are thinking about Evolving Skies in general, but also if you have any thoughts on Fusion and Lost Origin, leave a comment there as well. But that's all I have for you guys in this one. I'll catch you in the next one. And remember, it was never a phase.